Feeling a bit reflective today after spending the last 2 weeks, whenever I can, treating with oxalic acid all my hives. I'm nearly round it all. Almost every single colony has had 2 treatments now. Some have had 3, so I'm very pleased. The problem is trying to choreograph it all in with weather, with now kids again, with transport to school. It's all a nightmare, and I'm absolutely knackered because my son just started at college and he has to get the bus at 7 every morning, which is good because it wakes me up and I'm out of bed early, but I'm just not used to the 6 o'clock start at the moment, so it's kind of really piling it on, you know. But so where are we at the moment? We are mid-September, 15th today, 16th today. As I said, and I've got around most of my treatments. I'm very happy. It's been a lot of work, but I have been really lucky with the weather. We've been really nice, lot of calm days. So I generally tend to vape in the mornings, but I have been vaping in the days, during the day when the bees have been flying, which isn't a problem, because a lot of the colonies aren't too enormous right now because they're just kind of recovering from all the splits we did, which is good. A couple of things to talk about regarding the splits. I just wanted to mention that I'm treating them 4 times every 6 days, so once every 6 days for 4 treatments, because if you think about it, those splits I made with all the brood from colonies like this that were probably quite high in Varroa by mid-July, what did I take from those colonies? Brood. And what is in the brood? Varroa bombs. So what you can do very quickly is you can actually decompress your production colonies pretty quickly from Varroa, because there's a lot going on, and after the flow a lot of bees were being made at that time, and the Varroa would have been pretty active, jumping underneath those cells that were just about to be capped. So you can guarantee that you brought a big load of Varroa mites back into your nukes. So it's something next year I'll probably treat even sooner, and I may use a different treatment next year for them, so that when I put the nukes out in their mating yard, they've already got an amatraz in them, which is going to immediately knock that Varroa down. So as soon as that queen comes back, the Varroa load is already gone to virtually nothing. And the rest of the colonies, obviously I'm visiting them now, I'm doing the treatments. I've done oxalic acid before a lot of times, and I'm just finding it hard work, but the new mask I got is absolutely brilliant. I spoke about in the previous video, but it's just like you're not wearing anything because there's loads of free access. It's actually less inhibiting, I would say, than wearing a mask when you're in the supermarket, because you're doing your oxalic acid and you're glad you haven't got anything going in your lungs. But when you're in the supermarket, you're like, oh, get it off, I hate it, you know. But that is it is what it is. But I'm just trying to make the point that the mask I bought is really good, and it's so nice to wear it because it's comfortable. But when you're doing this amount of hives, I've got 2. I actually had a count up, and with the dead outs so far from the summer, from the shakeouts, I've still got over 200 production colonies running, as well as all my nukes for next year, as well as the Mini Plus. So I'm very happy. I don't know exactly the numbers of nukes because I haven't been through them, because treating Varroa has to take priority right now. There's no ifs and buts. You just got to get those treatments done every 5 to 6 days. The most important thing is, when I've caged queens, I've managed to do my first oxalic acid exactly the right time after I release the queen. In other words, you've got basically 8 to 9 days, not 89. You've got 8 to 9 days before you need to do your first treatment, before you've got to do it. Otherwise, all the Varroa will then go under the cappings when that first brood is capped after the queen's been laying like mad. So you kind of defeated the object. But I've got them all about day 4, day 5. I've actually given the queens a little bit of time to really get laying well before I treat the oxalic acid. That's just my own personal thing. I just feel there's less stress on the colony having that treatment in. I know the treatment is only there for a few minutes, but it stresses out the colony for a bit. So I like to just give that pause. And then obviously there's no mites have gone under any capped brood because there's nothing capped for at least 9 days from egg to being capped over. So, so I'm feeling a bit reflective because it's all been like a whirlwind, you know, and we're now mid-September, and what has happened to the last 2 months? The honey is all off. I finished pulling that last week, last Saturday actually, and it's all extracted as well. So you can see here some of my hives have got the hives with the wonky roofs have all actually got bee escapes underneath. So my next job is to take off the bee escapes. Today I've got 4 apiaries, but as I said, there wasn't a lot of honey anyway, and each apiary only had about 10 in each one. But the main thing is the process is done. The honey is off, it's in the barrel. It took a long time to what seemed forever to extract the honey this year. Probably for a couple of reasons, because we did it all by hand. We didn't use any machines to decap the frames, but there was so little that getting the decapping machine up and running would have hardly been worth it, and then we'd had a lot of mess to clear up for no real reward. So we've done it by hand in one extractor, and it took a while, but it's done. But in all, I've got about 600 kilos of summer honey, which is probably 25 to 30% of what I had last summer. You know, it's just like, it'll pay some immediate bills, but as from October, I have no money to pay for the next load of bills. But that's something I've got to deal with. But I'm looking into that, of finding out ways of basically creating some disposable income. But, you know, I've got to be positive, which I usually am. But what I'm working on next year is the fact that we're going into the winter. I'm going to have cleaner bees than I've ever had before, I think. I've got more colonies than I've ever had before. So everything is in place to take off next year, and off we go. You know, a new season, a better amount of bees. Hopefully we won't have many winter losses, who knows. It's looking like at the moment that the ivy flow might be really good. It's just about starting now. We've got a little bit of pollen coming in, but there's no real stinky hives yet. That usually comes in October. But we've had some cracking rain, really heavy, and yet it's still really warm. And the long-term forecast for the next 2 weeks is still pretty warm. So if that ivy really does crank up a bit, we only need a few weeks of it. We don't need, you know, the whole month to be perfect. You just need a couple of weeks. I've held off feeding thymolized syrup at the moment. I'm starting that this week. I wanted to get the honey off and away and extracted. Now I'm coming back. You'll see I've got a feeder. There's the odd feeder here and there on top of these roofs. That's for colonies that didn't have a feeder. Every colony now has a feeder, and I'll be coming back in next week and giving all these a thymol treatment as well as oxalic acid. So the thymol is there to help against Varroa, and also it's said to clean the bees through and help them against nosema going into the winter. Don't forget, nosema isn't always visible. There's 2 types, and one of them doesn't actually present as anything major at all. You only really see frames that are covered in the bees' defecation when they've had at the end stage. By the time you get to that stage, your nosema spore count is so high anyway you couldn't even count it. There's millions and millions of nosema in the gut already. That's too late by that time. We've always had a thing where, well, we've never really kind of seen nosema, so it's an interesting thing to talk about. But since I've been using thymol, I just find the bees take a little bit of time to get used to it, but then once they start taking it down, they just can't stop guzzling it. They absolutely love it. There's a little bit of food coming in. You see I've still got 3 hives on a pallet for 2 in some places, because I haven't been moving hives yet. I'm just going to put my top suit on because I've just been pecked. Because I haven't had a chance to move these around, and everything has been on hold while I've been treating against Varroa. But you can see I've got the strimmer out. That was yesterday's job. I had a couple of apiaries that was so bad that I just had to get and strim them. And it's funny that the ironic thing is I've had more stings from stinging nettles than I've had from bees in many cases, because the stinging nettles were so long and I haven't got them clean. But there you go. So overall, it's really good. I just wanted to update you. I've got nothing really else to say because I'm just working the same thing, just keeping my head down, just getting these treatments knocked out. There's nothing major going to come around. We've just got to get those bees ready and clean to make them as clean as we can for the autumn, so that when those winter bees, which are being made right now as well, obviously they're starting to make the winter bees now, when those bees are being made, they've got everything ready. And when those populations start to increase a little bit, they'll be all ready to just fill that honey, fill those boxes with nectar, be it my syrup or be it the ivy from the ivy flow, whichever it is. But either way, they're going to get filled up. So that's just a little update to give you an idea what I've been doing, but I really have been struggling my socks off to keep ahead of everything. But we're getting there, we're nearly there. I reckon within another week I'll be virtually finished all the treatments which I need to be. It should have been done 2 weeks ago. But as I said previously, we were 2 weeks late in the season anyway. So I just hope the weather's going to play ball for a little bit longer and I'll be absolutely happy as Larry. So, on we go. Bee escapes off, and then I'll do some strimming around here, keep this apiary a bit tidier. Take care, speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.